Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will talk about the hip bone. Before moving into the video, subscribe my channel because we bring very interesting and informative videos for the MBBS students. So let's start. Hip bone, as you know, that hip bone is an irregular bone, okay? It is made up of three parts: the ilium, the ischium and the pubis. So this is the ilium, this is the ischium and this is the pubis part. Ischium is located posterior inferiorly, ilium will be in the front in superiorly and the pubis will be anterior inferiorly. Okay. The three parts are joined in the cup-shaped acetabulum. So this is the acetabulum and the large opening of the foramen, this is the obturator foramen. Okay. Now, there are three joints involved here. Acetabulum articulates with the head of the femur in this way, okay, and forms the hip joint. Second joint is pubic part of the two hip bone join and forms the pubic symphysis. The third joint is two hip bone forms the pelvis or the hip girdle, and the bony pelvis formed by the two hip bone along with the sacrum and the coccyx. Okay, so these all are the four joints which is formed by the hip bone. So now moving into the side determination, how you will identify which sided bone it is. For that, first point you have to remember that acetabulum will always direct laterally. The flat expanded ilium forms the upper part of the bone that lies above the acetabulum. So this is the acetabulum, this is the ilium. Ilium will be above, acetabulum will be laterally placed and the obturator foramen lies below the acetabulum. So this is the obturator foramen will lie below, okay, and it is bounded anteriorly by the thin pubis and posteriorly by the ischium. Okay, so this all the point you have to remember. So and the anatomical position you have to hold. So the hip bone I am having, this is the left hip bone. So the which bone you are carrying with, so please check the which sided bone it is. Okay, now moving into the anatomical position. Anatomical position, in the position which you have to hold the bone. Okay, the pubic symphysis and the anterior superior iliac spine. So this is the anterior superior iliac spine, symphysis pubis. This both will lie in the same coronal plane. So you have to keep your hand like this so that both of them lie in the same coronal plane. Okay. Now second point you have to remember that the pelvic surface of the body of the pubis is directed backward and upward. So this is the pelvic surface. This will be of the body of the pubis and the pubis body both will be the backward and upward, and the symphysis surface of the body of the pubis lies in the medial position. So this forms the pubis symphysis. So this will be in the median plane. So the anatomical position you have to hold is this way. Okay, where this way, where this will be in the mid portion. This will be in the mid portion. Anterior superior iliac spine and the symphysis pubis both will be in the same coronal plane. Okay, and the ilium will be above. So this will be the anatomical position by which you have to hold the hip bone. Okay, now moving into the ilium. So I will make three separate videos. First, in this video I will talk only about the ilium. So this is the ilium, as I said you, this part. The ilium or a flank forms the upper expanded plate like the part of the hip bone, and its lower part forms the upper two-fifths of the acetabulum, and the ilium has the following: an upper end which is called as the iliac crest. So this is the iliac crest. Okay, this is the iliac crest. The lower end which is smaller and fused with the pubis and the ischium at the acetabulum. So this part, this portion which it is connected with the acetabulum, with the pubis and with the ischium. So this part is the lower part. And next is that it has three border. This is the anterior border. Behind this will be the posterior border. Okay, so this is the anterior border This is the posterior border and one medial border will be in the pelvic surface. So this is the pelvis and this is the medial border. Okay, so anterior border, posterior border, and this is the medial border of the ilium. Next, it has three surfaces: gluteal surface, iliac surface or the iliac fossa, and the sacropelvic surface. So this is the gluteal surface. In the lateral side, you will find the gluteal surface. The iliac surface is this one, or the iliac fossa is this one, and the rough in this part is called as the sacropelvic surface. Okay, now the iliac crest. So this is, as I said you, this is the iliac crest. Okay, now iliac crest is a broad convex ridge forming the upper end of the ilium, and it can be felt in the living at the lower limit of the flank. So you can feel this bone. Curvature is vertically, it is convex upwards, anterior posteriorly. So from the above, anterior posteriorly, it is in convex in nature, and concave towards in front and concave outwards behind. The highest point of the iliac crest is situated a little behind the midpoint of the crest. Okay, so this would be the midpoint of the crest. So this is the highest point of the crest. Okay, ends. The anterior end of the iliac crest is called as the anterior superior iliac spine, and this is prominent landmark that is easily felt in the living. So this is the anterior superior iliac spine in the anterior border, and down it is the anterior inferior iliac spine. Okay, same as in the behind, we'll get the posterior superior iliac spine and below the posterior inferior iliac spine. So this all of the thing you have to remember. Now morphological division. Morphologically, the iliac crest is divided into long ventral segment and the short dorsal segment. Okay, the ventral segment forms more than the anterior two-thirds of the crest. So this is the ventral part, and an outer lip and the inner lip. So in the lateral side, this will be the outer lip, and the inner side, this will be the inner lip. Okay, and an intermediate area. So what are the intermediate area? Between the outer and the inner lip, this is the intermediate area you are getting. The tubercle of the iliac crest is an elevation that lies on the outer lip about 5 cm behind the anterior superior iliac spine. So this is the anterior superior, this is the anterior superior iliac spine here. So 5 cm behind this one, you will get, this is the elevation. Okay. The dorsal segment forms less than the posterior 1/3 of the crest, and it has lateral and the medial slope. So this one is the lateral and the medial slope. So that one is lateral and this one is medial slope. So anterior border of the ilium. Anterior border starts at the anterior superior iliac spine and runs downward to the acetabulum. Okay, so this is the anterior border, as I said you. It runs below the acetabulum. Okay, next we have that the upper part of the border presents a notch which while it is lower part shows an elevation are called as the anterior inferior iliac spine. So this is the anterior inferior iliac spine, and the lower half of the spine is larger, triangular and roughened. So this is the part where it is triangular but it is roughened part. Okay, now posterior border, this is the posterior border of the ilium. Posterior border extends from the posterior superior iliac spine to the upper end of the posterior border of the ischium. So this is the posterior border of the ischium. So it extends from here to here. Okay. Next we have a few centimeters below the posterior superior iliac spine, we get the posterior inferior iliac spine. Still lower down the posterior border marked by a larger deep notch. This is called as the greater sciatic notch. So more down you will get a very big notch. This is the greater sciatic notch. So moving into the medial border, this is the medial border, extends on the inner or the pelvic surface of the ilium, forms the iliac crest to the iliopubic eminence. So from the iliac crest to the iliopubic eminence, the medial border runs. Okay, and then it separates the iliac fossa from the sacropelvic surface. So iliac fossa and the sacropelvic surface both are separated by the medial border. Its lower round part forms the iliac part of the arcuate line or the inlet of the pelvis. So this forms the inlet of the pelvis. Okay, if you join other sided pelvis also, then it forms the inlet of the pelvis, where it divides the pelvis into two parts. The upper bigger part is called as the false pelvis, and lower down part, smaller down part, is called as the true pelvis. Okay, now moving into the gluteal surface. So this is the gluteal surface. I said you lateral side you will get, or the femoral side where the femur will be attached. Now in the gluteal surface is the outer surface of the ilium, which is convex in front and concave behind. As you can see, it is convex in front but concave in the behind side. Like the iliac crest, and it is divided into four areas, by the three gluteal line. So if there will be three gluteal line, posterior gluteal line, the anterior gluteal line, and the inferior gluteal line. So there will be four gluteal surfaces. Okay, the posterior gluteal line is the shortest line. Okay, so posterior gluteal, where the posterior line will be begins in the 5 cm in front of the posterior superior iliac spine. So it will start 5 cm behind from the posterior superior iliac spine, from here to the greater sciatic notch. So this is the posterior gluteal line. Okay, next we have the anterior gluteal line is the longest and begins about 4 cm behind the anterior superior iliac spine. So this is the anterior superior iliac spine, 4 cm below. This is the line that is the anterior gluteal line. Next we have the inferior gluteal line, is the most ill-defined, begins at a little above the behind the anterior inferior iliac spine. So this one is the anterior inferior iliac spine. So this line is called as the inferior gluteal line. So the bone which I am having is marked. So don't do this mistake. Please don't mark in your bone, because it's a very bad habit. Okay. Now next, this all are the three gluteal line we are getting. Okay. Now coming to the iliac fossa. So this is the iliac fossa we are getting. Iliac fossa. So iliac fossa is the large concave area on the inner surface of the ilium, situated in front of its medial border, and it forms the lateral wall of the false pelvis. So as you can see, medial border, behind the medial border it is situating, and it forms the lateral boundary of the lateral wall of the false pelvis. Okay. Now moving into the sacropelvic surface. So this is the roughened part, is the sacropelvic surface. Okay. Sacropelvic surface is the uneven area on the inner surface of the ilium, situated behind its medial border. So behind the medial border it is situated. Okay, and it is subdivided into three parts: the iliac tuberosity, the auricular surface, and the pelvic surface. The iliac tuberosity is the upper large roughened area lying just below the dorsal segment of the iliac crest. So this is the iliac crest. The below it, this will be your iliac surfaces or the iliac tuberosity. Okay, the auricular surface is the articular but pitted, and it lies anterior inferior to the iliac tuberosity. So this is the arcuate surfaces. Okay, and the pelvic surface is smooth and lies anterior inferior to the auricular surfaces. So this one will be your pelvic surface. So this is the iliac tuberosity, this is the auricular surface, the articular part, and this one will be your pelvic surface. Okay, so these all are the features for the ilium. Now moving into the attachment. So let's know the attachment very fast. So this is the anterior superior iliac spine. In the anterior superior iliac spine gives the attachment to the lateral end of the inguinal ligament. It also gives attachment to the SERTORIUS muscle. Okay. Now, the outer lip of the iliac crest. Move into the outer lip of the iliac crest. So, this is the iliac crest, and this is very important for your exam. Okay. In the outer lip here, so this is your outer lip. Okay. In the femoral side. So, in the outer lip, the attachment of the fossa lata in the whole extent you will get. Okay. Now, next, origin to the tensor fossa lata in front of the tubercle. So, this is the tubercle. So, in front of the tubercle, you will get the tensor fossa lata's attachment. Now, next is insertion of the external oblique muscle in its anterior two-thirds. In the anterior two-thirds, you will get the attachment of the external oblique muscle. Now next is the origin to the latissimus dorsi you will find behind. So this is the highest point I said you. So here you will get the attachment of the latissimus dorsi behind. Okay. So and the iliotibial tract also you will get with along with the latissimus dorsi. So these all are the attachment of the outer lip. Now inner lip. So this side is the inner lip. Okay. So you just have to know the attachment before backward or from medial side to lateral side or outer lip to inner lip. So you don't have to point out from where to where it is there. Okay. External will not ask. But if they ask, then please read it from the book. Now next what we have in the inner surface, inner lip. So this is the inner lip. Okay. So origin to the transversus abdominis in its anterior 2/3. So its anterior 2/3 you will get the transversus abdominis attachment. Okay. Next attachment to the fossa transversalis and to the fossa iliaca in its anterior 2/3 deep to the attachment of the transversus abdominis. So we have deeper to the transversus abdominis attachment, there will be attachment of the fossa transversalis and fossa iliaca. Okay, next is the next we have the origin to the quadratus lumborum in the posterior 1/3. So in the posterior part you will get the attachment of the origin of the quadratus lumborum. Now attachment of the thoracolumbar fossa around the attachment of the quadratus lumborum. So thoracolumbar fossa you will get around the quadratus lumborum. So it will be in the posterior part. Now moving into the intermediate area. So this is the intermediate area of the iliac crest. I know it is a very small area, but you need to know a lot about it. So in the intermediate area of the iliac crest gives origin to the internal oblique muscle in the anterior 2/3. Okay. The attachment on the dorsal segment of the iliac crest are as follows. So in the backward, what you will get? First you will get the gluteus maximus in the lateral slope. So here you will get gluteus maximus. In the medial slope you will get erectus spinae muscle. The interosseous and the dorsal sacroiliac ligament are attached to the medial margin deep to the attachment to the erectus spine. So in the deeper to the erectus spine you will get the attachment of the dorsal sacroiliac ligament. The upper half of the anterior inferior iliac spine. So this is the anterior inferior iliac spine. Okay, so it gives origin to the straight head of the rectus femoris, and the roughened lower part of the spine gives attachment to the iliofemoral ligament. Okay, now the posterior border of the ilium. So here posterior border of the ilium, this one provides the attachment of the sacrotuberous ligament above the greatest sciatic notch. So this is the greatest sciatic notch. So above you will get the attachment of the sacrotuberous ligament. The origin to the few fibers of the piriformis from the upper margin of the greatest sciatic notch. So from the greatest sciatic notch you will get upper margin greater piriform muscle. Okay. Now the attachment of the gluteal surface. So this is the most important attachment you have to know. Even the gluteal surface, as I said you, there are three lines: posterior gluteal line, anterior gluteal line and the inferior gluteal line. So the in the gluteal surface, the gluteal maximus will be attached in the area behind the posterior gluteal line, gives origin to the gluteus maximus muscle. So here there will be origin of the gluteus maximus muscle. Now next, gluteus medius will be between the anterior gluteal line and the anterior gluteal line and the posterior gluteal line. This will be the gluteus medius. And gluteus minimus arises from the area between the anterior gluteal line and the inferior gluteal line. So there will be gluteus minimus. So back side it will be gluteus maximus, in the middle gluteus medius, and in front gluteus minimus. Okay. Now next we have below the inferior gluteal line. This is this is the inferior gluteal line. So below the inferior gluteal line you will get the reflected head of the rectus femoris arises from the group of the acetabulum. So this is the group for acetabulum. So here you will get the attachment of the reflected head of the rectus femoris. The capsular ligament of the hip joint is attached along the margin of the acetabulum. So this is the acetabulum. So along the margin of the acetabulum you will get the capsular ligament for the hip joint, because hip joint is formed by the femur and the acetabular notch. Now the iliac fossa gives origin to the iliacus muscle. So this is the iliacus fossa. So here you will get the iliacus muscle full in the upper 2/3 of it. The lower grooved part of the fossa is covered by the iliac bursa. So it will be covered by the iliac bursa. Next, in the iliac tuberosity, here the attachment of the interosseous sacroiliac ligament in the greater part. In the greater part, there will be interosseous sacroiliac ligament, and the dorsal sacroiliac ligament posteriorly you will get. Now next, the iliolumbar ligament superiorly. So iliolumbar ligament will be above. In the middle, the bigger part, interosseous sacroiliac ligament, and in the posterior part you will get the dorsal sacroiliac ligament. Now the convex margin of the auricular surface, this one, or in the auricular surface, will get the attachment of the ventral sacroiliac ligament. So we'll get the attachment of the ventral sacroiliac ligament. The attachment of the pelvic surface are as follows. So this is the pelvic surface I said you. So preauricular sulcus provides attachment to the lower fibers of the ventral sacroiliac ligament. So here again it will be ventral sacroiliac ligament. The part of the pelvic surface attached lateral to the preauricular sulcus gives origin to the fibers of the piriformis. As I said you, here will be the piriformis, and the rest of the pelvic surface gives origin to the upper half of the obturator internus. So obturator internus, here it will be the obturator internus, as obturator muscle is obturator foramen is here. So here obturator foramen internus muscle will be there. So this all of the attachment of the ilium. I know it's too long, but you have to know this bone very carefully because it's a very tough bone. Okay, especially the attachment of the ilium you have to know. Iliac crest attachment you have to know, and the main feature of the hip bone obviously you need to know. So if this video was a little helpful to you, then please hit the like button, comment below, share with your friends, and subscribe my channel. Also follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Telegram. Thank you.